Hey everybody. So today we're going to be talking some more about reading. If you saw my reading readiness, my other reading readiness video, this is the next one. So I have parents ask me, how do I know when it's time for my child to learn how to read? So these are, if kids are in kindergarten, they're learning how to read, they're getting that. So these are like preschool parents asking, when do I teach my kids to read? What do they need before I teach them how to read? So I've got some skills that your child should have before you start learning, before you start teaching them how to put all those letter sounds together and start learning how to read. Are you ready? So the first one is that they can confidently cross the midline. What does that mean? So here's the middle. And you know the two sides of the brain control the other side of the body. They can cross the midline. This is harder for boys because in the womb, the two hemispheres of their brain gets a wash of testosterone that separates the two hemispheres of the brain, changes the shape and color of their brain. And so they have great focusing skills as males, but they need help with reforming some of those connections. And so crossing the midline is one way to do that. So if your child is left dominant hand, they can, and there's something they need on this side, they can cross the midline and pick it up. They don't have to pick it up with their other hand and then transfer it. So being able to cross the midline confidently. Some fun things that you can do, right? Some fun little songs. Do you know which song that is? Look it up. It's a ton of fun. It's called Waliacha. Some other things is sweeping. You have to cross the midline to sweep. You have to cross the midline to rake up leaves. So crossing the midline is important. Next up is being able to point with accuracy at small things. So if you're reading a book and you ask your child, oh, do you see the little ladybugs? Can you point to the ladybugs? How many ladybugs are there? 1, 2, 3. They're able to point to it, still see it. They don't like end up over here or way down here when you're asking where the ladybugs are. They're able to go and point accurately to small things on a page. Use their eyes and their hands. They've got the coordination ready for it. Another one is being able to hear and produce the sounds. So when they hear they know they can get the right sounds. When you say hand, they say hand. If you say egg, they say egg, not ag or ugh. The easiest sound to pronounce is and so sometimes kids will continue to say even though it's a different vowel sound. So being able to hear the sounds and produce them. We'll go through all the different sounds in just a second. Next up is being able to skip. Skip, yes, skip. Being able to skip is a skill that most children have before they learn how to read. They skip. So if your child can skip, that means they have the dexterity in their brain, the left and the right, and their brain working together. Their brain has dexterity and able to be able to read. It's fun. So it's step, hop, step, hop, step, hop, step, hop. Skipping, it's a ton of fun. So go out and skip and have fun and get that brain development and dexterity going. It's a great pre-reading readiness skill. This is probably the next one, the one that you were thinking of first. Letter sounds. Knowing what sound each letter makes and being able to tell you what sound it makes, and then being able to come up with a word that starts with that same sound. I have this chart from when I was teaching in the classroom full-time, and I used it with my kiddos when we were doing extra reading or when I was tutoring with reading. So we have really quick. When you're doing your consonants, don't add an sound after it. It's not k, t. That doesn't help them. That makes it having fluency with reading difficult. Cat. Okay, you ready? Here are the basic letter sounds. A like apple, b like bell, k like cat, d like dog, e like elephant, f like fox, g like goat, h like horse, I like Indian, j like jam, k like kite, O like lamp, M like milk, N like nest, A like ostrich, P like pig, Qu like queen, R like ring, S like sun, T like table, A like umbrella, V like violin, W like wagon, X like box, Y like yarn, and Z like zebra. There are charts out there. Make sure they have the short vowel sounds and that they don't use any special sounds or blends for the clue. They're called clue words to help to give an example of what sound that letter makes. So make sure the clue words aren't like ch for chair, because CH says ch, C doesn't say ch, CH does. You don't want something like sheep for S, because SH is the special sound that says sh in sheep. S doesn't, SS, so you want something like snake, or something like that. So that being able to know what sound each letter makes and give an example of a word that starts with the same sound. If they say phone for the sound, they're right. It does make that sound. You can say that is the sound. There's a tricky pair that sneaks in and takes F's place in that word, but or not. It doesn't. You're making sure they have the sound and letter connection. Last but not least, this is probably the most important thing your child needs before they learn how to read, and that is the desire to do it. When your kid is ready to learn how to read, they will tell you, they will ask you to teach them to read. One of the best moments ever as a teacher is when my daughter asked me to teach her how to read, and when my son asked me to teach him how to read. Mommy, I want to read this book. How do I read? How do I read it? You'll see them trying to sound out words on their own. If they know all their letter sounds, they'll be doing the k, a, k, and they'll start trying to do it on their own. They'll get frustrated when they can't read a new book on their own, and they might say, Mommy, how do I read this book? I can't do it. Or Daddy, or I'm sorry, I'm always saying Mommy because I am a mommy and that's my experience. But Grandma or Nana or Pop or Miss Susie, they'll say, I want to read. And if they don't want to read, if they're fighting you on it and they don't want to practice flashcards and it's a fight and it's not fun, please stop. Because if reading's not fun, that's going to ruin school, because school is reading. School is a lot of reading, and we want reading to be as fun as possible. And there's a joy in reading and discovering new things and learning new things and finding new worlds. So we want reading to be fun. And if it starts to not be fun, take a break. Try again later. Or if it's fun for a little while and then not so much fun, then stop. Do as much as your kid is ready for. Follow their lead on this, especially if they're not in kindergarten yet and it's not required. So those are the pre-reading skills your kid needs before you start to decode. So first was crossing the midline. Next was pointing with accuracy to small things in a book. After that was being able to hear and produce the sounds in the alphabet, the first sounds that they're going to use and different sounds that we use when we're talking. Next, number 4 was skipping, being able to skip. Great brain dexterity that helps them read and put those sounds together, just as they're putting together those motions with their body. Not last. Next was letter sounds and words that start with those sounds. And last was desire, but it was the most important. All right. That is how you know when your kid is ready to read. They'll ask and they'll tell you and they'll want to do it. And those are the things they need to be able to do before they can read. That's it. I'll see you guys later. Bye.